CommBank and MIT have been partnering since 2024 on the human-centered AI research. Now I'm joined by Marianne and Renée. Marianne, you've recently been appointed as the first Chief AI Scientist at CommBank. Why is a role like this important as technology evolves?
I'm really excited because CommBank is a leader in AI globally. We need to stay at the forefront of research and innovation to continue to generate exceptional value for our 18 million customers, employees, and Australian society in general.
Renée, your research looks at how AI influences human judgment and cognitive bias. Where do you see the biggest risks today of people over-trusting or under-trusting AI in decision-making?
I think the risk comes from the pendulum swinging too far in one direction. We have people who are AI skeptics and may be missing out on some of the value that could be created by these tools. At the same time, we have some folks who talk about AI as if it's a panacea. And even if they're in the middle, may find themselves over-relying over time because we become habituated to the ease with which AI can help us complete tasks. So I think the biggest risk is in being either or in your approach to AI, either human or AI, either all or none. And a lack of nuance in understanding when and the fact that it depends.
And you've spent decades researching how humans and technology work together. What is the biggest shift you're seeing now in how AI is changing roles, skills, and decision-making inside organizations?
So the big shift is to agents and agentic AI. So this is AI that doesn't just make recommendations and decisions, it acts in the world, it changes things. And so how humans are going to manage, govern, and interact with these kinds of technologies really has to be reimagined and redesigned, and there's a lot of, exciting challenges there for research.
Now, Renée, you've written about the idea of adding beneficial friction into AI systems. What's a practical example of that in the workplace?
Some of my research has identified what we call cognitive speed bumps. So in the zeal to use some of these tools, intentionally and strategically placing points at which you can engage the more conscious thinking of the human is going to be, I think, a way of mitigating risk and also preserving the talent and the skill that we as humans bring to the table. Here at CBA, we've just done some research and looking at beneficial friction with respect to understanding order effects. So if a human is making a decision, whether the AI proffers a suggestion first or whether the human goes first themselves. And when that leads to an opportunity for us to recalibrate so that the human isn't completely anchoring on their own assumptions, but also isn't completely anchoring on what the AI has offered.
What does effective human-AI collaboration actually look like day to day?
We underestimate how adaptable we are. There's no kind of intelligence more adaptable than human intelligence, right? AI is very good at understanding data at scale, and that needs to be taken in consideration when you're actually designing these tools.
From my perspective, effective human-AI interaction is one where the sum is greater than the parts, right? So, as Marianne mentioned about agents and AI understanding data at scale, that's an incredible input to a system or to a decision. And we're not looking to sort of replicate what AI can do. At the same time, there is no greater thinking system than the ones we possess, right? As humans, just think of algorithms and what they would likely predict and the people who are outliers to that. And the inspiration that we as humans draw. The most inspiring people are usually doing things that weren't expected. I don't think an algorithm would have expected me to be sitting here. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, the child of immigrants, right? And so humanity requires us to do things like have faith in other people and to believe in what the data may not lead us to conclude.
On the panel, you did say that with your MBA students, you encourage them to use AI but anything that's there is already out there. So you encourage them to think beyond, right?
Yes, I encourage them to use it as a tool of understanding regression to the mean. So if Claude or ChatGPT is telling you this is the right answer, or this is what you should do if you're thinking about a potential innovation or a business or strategy, then that means it's been done before. That means it's able to say that because there is a path already there. And so I do think it's an effective input to allow you to deviate from that path. And so it can be actually a critical tool for innovation, not because it tells you what to do and it provides the innovation to you, but rather you could understand what the mean is so that you can actually exceed it.
Marianne, your research focuses on orchestrating human AI collaboration and AI agents. What distinguishes organizations that are getting this right from those that are struggling?
Organizations who are putting humans first are the ones who are doing well, and they'll continue to do well. Because if you make a human a superhuman by giving them these extraordinary tools, then they can ask bigger and more interesting questions, and they can achieve far more. You know, if AI is really taking care of things AI can do that only sort of require a lot of data processing but don't need an understanding of the world or a strong sense of empathy, then let AI do that and let people focus on, you know, finding the problems worth solving.
Will AI make humans better?
Way better, it already has. Just by understanding these nuances and the work that Renée's doing, we know far more about people, and that's been really happening at scale, right? Everyone's using ChatGPT. Everyone is worried about AI. Everyone is wondering what these tools are doing to us, how they're similar to what we've seen in social media. So everyone is in this conversation because this technology has been adopted faster than anything we've ever seen before. And that also means that we're learning together.
Has the speed of AI in, say, the last couple of years surprised you?
Yes, it surprised me in lots of ways, but I think it came sooner than we expected. Part of the reason was there's an old theorem, mathematical theorem from the 1980s that said it wasn't possible to do it this way with deep learning. And so that's been overturned, and I think everyone is surprised by not just the speed, but the capability and the step changes. But let's not forget that we have, or at least the companies building these frontier models are, you know, putting a lot of investment and funding. They have the world's top talent, all very, very laser focused on solving these problems.
Renée, as organizations further embed AI, how do they avoid de-skilling their workforce and instead strengthen human expertise over time?
That is a critical question, and I'm just glad you're asking it, because I think that the organizations that are thinking about this now are best suited to prevent the risk of cognitive debt and atrophy that could appear. This is, for me, where friction does come into play as a guardrail, but not just for risk in terms of inaccuracy, but as a means of strengthening the muscle. I often tell people to practice acts of inconvenience, to engage their critical thinking, their curiosity, their exploration, not as a time waste, but as something that creates richness that pays down the road. Without that, what are we doing as a species? Where do we go when we kill that kind of curiosity? So it's something to, I think, be taken into account. Having said that, I think one of the best ways of using these tools is actually to enable that curiosity, right? To enable exploration, to enable the generation of exploring the space of possibility. From my perspective, friction is a tool that we should not fear, but actually embrace. And we better do so quickly, as we know already, research suggests that there's a pretty precipitous reliance upon AI as the convenience becomes more and more accessible.
Such fascinating insights from both of you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.